Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Nina Kauser Show. Another weekend, another game of football, and this time we beat West Ham. Not as easy as I would have thought. I'm not going to lie. Bit nervous towards the end, but happy with the 3 points and keep applying that pressure onto Manchester City, which is all that we want, and things are looking very exciting indeed. On this show, I have two incredible guests. They paired up a few weeks ago. Actually, it's been a while since they paired up, but it's great to have them back on. They are incredible people. They are incredible podcasters, and one might have a slightly husky voice, so I'm going to milk it for all it's worth. So without further ado, let me introduce my guests. First up, I am delighted to be reunited with my good friend Kaylon Kareem. Welcome back, Kay.
Hi, Nins. How are you? It's lovely to be here again.
It's wonderful to have you back on. And, we're going to be talking about Liverpool, and we've got one of your good friends and my good friend as well. And I think just the Anfield Index community love hearing from this guy. And it's an honour to have him back on. And he's the one with the husky voice. So pay attention, listeners. Pay attention. It is Mr. Marco Lopez. Welcome back, my friend.
Damn, you just completely ruined my joke for Kay. I was going to tell everybody that was him, but it's all good. Hello, everybody.
You can always me to ruin everything, You ruin everything, Kauser. Right, guys, let's get into this. Liverpool won 1-0. We do have a caller. I will bring him on in a minute, but we've not spoken for a while, so, I want to just get your thoughts. Liverpool won Carabao Cup. Things are looking incredible. The quadruple looks pretty much good. Hot on the heels of Man City, and then that result against West Ham, because obviously, as we all know, we lost to them this season, so it was good to stick it back to David Moyes. So just quick reaction, guys. How do you feel? I'll come to you first, Kay.
Though I feel a little bit relieved at the end of it. I think, I think what you're talking about really fed into what was going on. We win the Carabao Cup, and it's nice. It's nice to win it. It's the kind of smallest domestic trophy, but if you're going to get to the final, you might as well win it. And it was a really good moment, club's first domestic cup, and in the context of Liverpool also doing really well in every competition at the same time, we've gone on a real nice winning streak as of late. And coming into the game, there was a lot of talk, especially from the commentary team, how imperious Liverpool is looking at the moment and approaching these games and kind of wiping the floor with teams as we go along. I think this match has kind of taught us that it's not that the lads are not going to expend the effort, but we are going to have games like this. It's difficult competing on all these fronts and pursuing, all these different kinds of avenues of success. Ooh, having said that, there was, we played much better than the result we got, I feel, and we simultaneously somehow were also lucky enough to kind of come away with the result. The real sort of profligacy in front of goal, I think, ended up costing us, but very relieved, happy to just continue this little streak. And it is good on occasion to get these little bumps where you're going, okay, don't get complacent, keep hungry. Things can still go wrong. You have to work for it and keep us on that right track. So all in all, positive. It's 3 points. That's all you can be. And we take it forward.
Honest to God, you turned on full-on K, philosophical K there. You've given me proper Jurgen Klopp vibes. I love it. And Marco, I'm going to come to you. I mean, your thoughts just in general about, since the last time we spoke, where we were, where we are right now, and obviously the result, because we'll talk about the game, but I just want to get your feelings.
I thought that it was really important, obviously, for the team to keep the momentum up. It's very difficult to sort of consider and string along. What is it? I think it's 12 matches in a row now that they've won. I know technically the League Cup final's a draw, and in some respects, and obviously penalty shootout win, but it's a win, like because obviously a trophy came home at the end of it.
Yep.
So that's really impressive as it in of itself to sustain. I'm not expecting any favors from anyone tomorrow, so Manchester City will need to be. Liverpool have a responsibility to keep making Manchester City look over their shoulders. That's it.
Yeah.
So, was it ugly in parts? Yes. Was it uncomfortable? Yes. Do I care because there's 3 points in the bag?
Nope.
That's all that matters. That's
Yeah.
all we should be worrying about. Simple as that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I completely agree. Right. I did say we have a caller on, and I am going to bring him on. It's great to hear from him, you know. It's a familiar voice on the Nina Kauser show. I love hearing from him. I'm sure you guys do as well. I love the fact that he gives me his little soundbite of how he felt for the entire game and a little tidbit extra as well. It is Kieran. Kieran, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's always great to have you on the Nina Kauser show. The floor is yours. You know what to do.
Yeah, it was a very, very difficult game against a West Ham side who, you know, can give top teams a bloody nose every now and then. And, you know, we had to work very hard for the win today. You know, I thought, I didn't think we played well, but we did. But the important thing is that we've got the massive 3 points, and we just have to hope that the red half of Manchester get a result tomorrow.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for calling. Thanks for that, Kieran.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Right, guys. So Marco, there you have Kieran there, hoping that the red half of Manchester do us favours. I mean, the house, you know, my family will be very harmonious if that happened. We're all Man United fans, by the way, tomorrow. I'm just going to put that out there.
What?
For personal reasons. Yeah.
No.
For personal reasons. Guys, thanks everyone that's joining us live on Discord. If anyone wants to call in, just drop us a message. Lubo's just put in a gorgeous picture of himself, Kev, and Amando. Lovely picture there. Not jealous at all. But guys, anyone that's joining us live, please, if you want to call in, drop us a message and we'll get you on. Right, let's talk about the team lineup. And I will come to you first, Marco. Team lineup. One thing I love is the strength and depth on the bench now as well. And it's great to see people like Jota on the bench, you know, Minamino on the bench, who has been a great servant in the Cups, by the way. You know, he's turning into quite a player. But your thoughts on the lineup? I thought it was as strong as strong can be.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, obviously there'd been a lot of concerns raised in the week about some of the injuries suddenly sort of starting to surface. I, like many people, I'm sure, was very disappointed for Thiago to have that mishap. It's a bit of a weird thing for him to sort of picked up that injury in the pre-warm-up. It kind of makes me think that probably his fitness wasn't particularly good to begin with before the final even started. But it would be really important to see him play some part against Inter if he can make it. And obviously Joel Matip missing, Firmino missing. So you're quite right. It's probably the lineup's as good as it can be. But I think on the whole that should have given everyone some comfort, right? Because I think fundamentally the only part of the team that you probably worry about on paper is whether or not Sadio Mane in this, I don't know if you want to call it a false nine or a proper nine. He kind of tries to play both roles interchangeably. I don't know if he's good at either of them objectively, but it's probably the only sort of blind spot in the team. Everything else we're kind of used to. I always get very excited when I see Naby Keita on the field because I think he's still fairly underappreciated. And I thought it was good to see him as well. It's funny you said that the bench sort of support there and the strength of the depth was obvious. If I can say one criticism of Klopp today, I don't think he went to it early enough, but we can probably talk about that later.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Hey, I'm going to come to you. I mean, talk to me about the team lineup. I thought it was very smart, the fact that, with, Jurgen Klopp looking at Antonio, the threat that West Ham have, and bringing on a player like Kanate was really, really sensible in my opinion. And for most parts of the game, I thought he handled him really, really well. But I love the fact that he's got now options where he can give Matip a rest and bring in the right player for the right job, basically.
I think we're definitely seeing that across all the competitions, and just how Klopp is, using the squad and dipping in and out. It's been interesting, how he's using the squad and the lineup now, whereas previously he's been saying a lot of things about, wanting a small squad and liking a small squad. I think that's really been out of necessity, where, his previous teams, Mainz and Dortmund, didn't have always the greatest transfer budgets. And then at Liverpool, where there's sort of a policy of waiting for the right player before going out to spend that money, or taking a punt, especially when big money is concerned, I think has sort of hamstrung transfers. While I'm not really commenting on hamstringing the performances or anything like that, but certainly transfers haven't been as forthcoming as maybe other teams. Definitely our net spend is like way down. Whatever you think about that. And now I think we're just seeing a little bit more use of the squad. That's why we got deep in the Carabao Cup. That's why. There are changes that he made in that tournament that he would not have made before. Even later, where he changed the lineups, I don't think we do that in previous seasons, just because he doesn't have the squad to use them. And now you're talking about, the Thiago one is bad, and that happened, but there's been more than one occasion when like your defender gets injured and you're like, oh my word, what are we going to do now? What happens when one of the front three get injured? It's lovely that we can have that now, and that, before the game, a couple of my friends were talking about how it would have been kind of nice to see Costas, get a game here and there. And then there's obviously opinions on Minamino's, opinions on Keita and all these things. But for once they're done in a positive light, if I can put it that's lovely to see. It's really good to see. So I agree with you, Nins. This was the strongest he can sort of put out. I do think it will shine a spotlight, as Marco is spotlighting himself, on the substitutions and how Klopp makes them, because there's a lot more options that he has now relative to before. So interesting to see going forward as well.
Absolutely right. Whilst you gents have been talking, I've been keeping an eye on the chat on Discord, and hopefully we might have a new caller on. Let's see if this works. Let's see if we can bring him on. C-Vela11, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly. That was a really, really impressive first time. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, glad to be on for my first time.
Well, it's absolutely wonderful to have you on. So the floor is yours. I was reading the chat above, and you did kind of make us laugh with what you wrote. Maybe you can ask us that. I don't know. But yeah, the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, what a great game. A little bit tighter than we thought it needed to be. But again, you're going to have tight games like this to be able to challenge for the title. We saw it in the 1920 season, where there was a lot of 1-0 wins, and it was a little bit tighter than we'd like. But you need those for title challenging seasons. But yeah, the question that I brought up is how gross do we feel as Liverpool fans this year? The celebrating the Harry Kane goal in the late stages of the City game, cheering for Everton and that close 1-0, and then now we're hoping for United to get a result in this next game against City. It just something doesn't feel right, but I guess whatever it takes, right?
The things you gotta do, eh? Yeah, you know what? That made me laugh when I saw that title up. So you know what? I'm gonna have to ask you, right? If you could rate how dirty you felt from all. Well, I'm assuming everyone will be secretly rooting for Man United. We're not gonna. You want United to do us a favour, so. Rank it in your order: Harry Kane goal, wanting Everton, and Frank Lampard's Everton as well. So it's like a double whammy in terms of grossness. And wanting Man United to do us a favour tomorrow, rank it in how gross you feel. And you know what, Kate? I'm going to come to you first.
No.
Yes. Shall I go first?
All right, you go. You go first. I'll follow you.
Okay, I think if I could rate it in an order, I'm going to say, for me, probably, I think, just... Oh, it's really hard because they're all really disgusting.
The Harry Kane one's not so bad. The Harry Kane one's not so bad.
Do you want to know something? That one is pretty bad to me because he's a repulsive thing.
He's so repulsive, though.
He is repulsive, but keep in mind.
And I called him a thing. How old am I? 5. He's a
repulsive. He's so icky. Like,
but repulsive as they may be, the goals were good. The goals were important, and when you consider how Spurs have managed to conspire to lose every other game that isn't important.
Yeah, they lost to Burnley straight after to be like very, very Spursy.
Yeah, it's just like beautifully poetic in a way. So that one doesn't bother me. The other two guys, I'm trying to think here. There's many things that I wouldn't compare to having Roy Hodgson manage Liverpool again. You're getting very close to that, and this is disturbing behavior for this humble podcast. So yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't. I think supporting United takes the cake for me though, by a long way.
Dude, I think that's so interesting because more recently for me, especially these last kind of few years, I've kind of had to separate the kind of rivalry on the field, rivalry off the field, because of how fans and ownerships have developed over this period. Right. And it's kind of interesting. So like United, while they are the largest rival and always, the old enemy, at least there's an inkling of kind of all rightness about that relative to our, our closest front runners in terms of title challenges in recent years, kind of thing. I know I'm kind of, I know people are going to come to me and say, well, American hedge funds and AIG and all that, not, I mean, cool. Yeah, I know, but you don't get rich by being good in the world. And there are levels to these kinds of things. So for me, I really, the Everton one kind of got me because I wasn't expecting a damn thing from that team. Not one damn thing. And it just happened to be on, and the only reason it really happened to be on is because my girlfriend was having it on as background music while we were doing work and stuff like that.
How bad is the game dragged on? Listening to that,
she likes listening to sport because she wants to.
But still, okay, there's levels to this, mate. She
turns it on. I'm not gonna censure anybody. I don't want to infect her with my. with my opinions. But as it got along, I got dragged in and I got sucked in so bad to the end. I didn't even give one iota of nonsense about that game. And by the end, I was screaming at the TV. So that made me feel like just really silly at the end of it. So I put that as the worst. I put Harry Kane probably as the least cringy, even though he's so ew with his mouth breathing ways, and United can fit right in the middle. Mid-table where they belong.
Guys, thanks for having
United
me
can
on.
sit in mid-table where they belong.
No, Sivella, thank you for joining us. If you could drop your Twitter handle in the chat box if you are on Twitter, and then we can pop we could put you in the tweets basically, and give you a shout out there.
Much appreciated. I'll do that, and maybe I'll be on a few more calls in the future.
Hopefully, yeah. You started up quite a debate there, and just for the record, I didn't feel dirty at any because I am a self-serving individual, and all 3 of those served Liverpool, so I don't care. I mean, I love the fact that I can kind of now maybe get behind Man United, and I know that they are absolutely having a dire season, and it has no impact on Liverpool or me whatsoever. Plus my mum's a Liverpool, my mum's a Man United supporter, so my love for her outweighs any hate for any Man United fan, and they
Oh,
are
that's
not the nicest
adorable.
people. They're not the nicest people. I agree with you, but yeah. Plus, I'm shit scared of her, and there's that as well. But anyway, moving
Very
on.
sweet, man. That's very sweet. Look, I'll qualify one thing. I think I've collected many. I'm sure all of us have collected many uh, a hateful United fan in their life, or two, or 7, or 20, because there's so many of
Yes.
them for some reason.
Yep.
But the thing for me that's always, I always get reminded. I can't remember where it was quoted. It's somewhere way back. I don't even know if this is true anymore. But Ryan Giggs, when he was either caretaking or sort of trying to serve under Louis van Gaal, had mentioned that what happened to Liverpool won't happen to United.
Yes,
Well,
yes. It
never,
was an
yeah.
article. Yep.
I've never forgotten that, and
Yeah.
and that's why I have to admit, when I look at this team sort of going through what it is, okay, it's only 10 years, it's not 30 yet, but yeah, I have to admit, whenever they fall, I
You do
really,
smile.
really, really enjoy it. So, the only sort of drawback tomorrow is just, yeah, I understand the lay of the land and what's going to be beneficial for Liverpool. So, but I can't bring myself to share that team. I just can't.
No, we can't. And and on a positive note as well, we did our business today. Does that make sense? We had to get the 3
Yes.
points. We did that, and that's what we're going to focus on. But it was a great discussion point, and it'll be very interesting to see where the listeners stand in this, and the people that are joining us live as well. So please, guys, if you want to rate them, by all means do. Okay, guys, let's kind of talk about this game. And Marco, I'm going to come to you because Liverpool, like we said, this game was a bit of a mixed bag. It started off so bright. I think Liverpool Salah had a chance on the first minute, and your expectations are like, I don't know, at the highest. You're thinking, oh gosh, this is going to be a fun I'm going to say evening, because obviously it was a 5:30 kickoff here. This is going to be a fun evening at Anfield. I think Liverpool are just going to really, really try creating a lot of chances. Of course, you look at that West Ham midfield, it didn't look the strongest. You thought it's just going to be fun, and there were so many chances in I think the first 5 minutes. I thought we were really, really sparky. I felt like we didn't let West Ham, settle in the game at all.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, the first chance, you think it's sort of almost routine stuff for Mo, and
Yeah.
Mo Salah. I've got a sense people are sort of trying to blame or maybe sort of speculate that his sort of extended stint at AFCON is potentially where some of this sort of weird mixed bag of form is coming from. I think the guy's just tired. Fatigue being the operative word, and that just comes in general from a significant amount of games, because even if he hadn't gone to AFCON, he would have been playing a lot of games anyway. So fundamentally, it's that factor in particular, and when you consider how the other players have been far more rotated, Mo's the one who's been least rotated and least easily replaced. I think if you look at the way that Luis Diaz has slotted in beautifully on the left, I love the fact that I don't miss that guy in Portugal at all. I love that he's in Liverpool red. It's a very strange. You talk about guilty pleasures. There's a weird one for you. Sort of hating him in a Porto shirt. Now he's in Liverpool. But
Yeah.
but effectively, I think the team really managed to carve out things, and you got a sense it was only a matter of time. The important dynamics around how the game tactically settled is, I think to some extent Liverpool didn't press enough of an urgency as the game went on. There were quite a few moments where a counter-attack was maybe one pass too slow, one pass too many,
Yeah.
to the extent where spaces couldn't be exploited, or West Ham were just about able to recover themselves into defensive shape. But it was a promising start, make no mistake.
It was absolutely, and Steve Pete said there today, Mo was trying to make up for missing that opener all game. Understandable, but true. I will come to you, Kay, on your thoughts of how Liverpool started, and just your thoughts in general about maybe your expectations for what you were kind of assuming, because I just thought this is going to be a goal fest. We're going to get revenge, and Mo Salah really, really did look bright, but I think I think Marco is right there. You know, he's been like the least rested player, and you know, it was good to see him sort of come off as well, and the fact that we were calming him coming off because, like we said, we do have options now. But your thoughts in terms of how Liverpool started? I thought the tempo was good, and we'll talk about Luis Diaz next.
Yeah, I think importantly the context of West Ham being, just on the cusp of top four, especially early in the season when they were doing really well. I know they dropped off a bit, but David Moyes has got them, playing very, very well. They're a very decent side, absolutely handy. As mentioned, they can bloody the nose of the bigger teams every now and again, certainly, and that's happened with us already this season. So you're looking at the game and thinking, okay, it's Anfield. We win at Anfield. That's great. But this is this David Moyes team, and if he wants to, they can sit deep, they can play, they can do many things now. They're very, very well organized side. And then the game starts, and there's just 3 chances in the first 3 minutes, and you're going, what on earth is going on? It was so easy to carve them open. It's just such a string of shots that they didn't really pick up anything until sort of after the 10th minute. But I think they had a sort of kick up the backside in those early minutes. And I mean, to be honest, when Mo was through in goal, I did not conceive that he would miss. I just thought that was it. It's Fabianski versus Mo. Mo wins 10 out of 10 times. Apparently, it's 9 out of 10. And this was the one time. But yeah, as the game went on, they didn't really have a lot in the game as far as really clear-cut chances. That was still with us in the game, and it was essentially, I think, basically until that goal-mouth scramble they had close to kind of the last 5 minutes of the game. And it was only then, and I like to take that as a measure of kind of how the game is going. If you're making clear-cut chances, I don't really care if you get offside chances or if you have possession or whatnot. You have to be able to carve out chances, and they weren't really doing that while still looking somewhat handy. So this is the thing that the commentators always do. They try and make the game seem a lot closer than what it is in terms of dominance, but that, and then having such a slim margin the entire game, I think, especially as we got into the second half, I think that played on our minds. But that first half was pretty good from us, actually. I thought throughout the whole game we pressed really well. In the first half, especially until West Ham had little bright spots kind of here and there. But you were confident after the first half, right? I mean, you looked at it thinking like we should have scored a couple here at least, and going into the next half, maybe we can just ramp it up a little bit and take West Ham out of this. But didn't turn out to be like that.
No, it didn't. And obviously, as things progressed, I do think though in the first half we were definitely in more control and more composed. And I've got a question here from Lisa Marie. She goes, how much do you think the absence of Declan Rice affected them today? Marco, I'll come to you. I mean, we already know he's one of their star men, and of course that is a huge loss. I think Jurgen Klopp spoke about it in his press conference as well. They were out without him, but do you think that massively impacted them this, against Liverpool? Or do you think Liverpool were overall just a stronger team? Because I do feel like our attack was... I thought Luis Diaz was probably the best out of our front three today, in my opinion. I just think he's an absolute nightmare to control and contain. And I want to get your thoughts on that because to me, and I want to get your thoughts on this, sometimes when he's just with that ball, I think it was about 11th minute, he just took the ball and the ball just stuck to his feet. And he was just kicking it up in their half, and it was playing beach football. It was like playing beach football, and it's just an absolute joy to watch. But your thoughts on the injury of Declan Rice to this David Moyes West Ham team, which is actually impressing people quite a bit.
It's hard to say if Declan Rice would have fundamentally changed a lot of what happened in the game, because if you look at it, by the end of it, I think West Ham made a lot more chances than probably they would have even expected. So they were probably a lot more dangerous than they could have hoped. I think that there's a weird dynamic in terms of the way that the midfield sort of supports a lot of what Antonio was trying to do, and Kanate looked uncomfortable, but he managed it most of the time. So, to be honest, I actually think that the way that Bowen and Souček, etc., sort of compensated for the absence was fairly good. Having said that, I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, an injury there to what their best player, you want to take advantage of it, right? So, effectively, it's really good that Liverpool were able to sort of suspend that. Now, as for Luis Diaz, to answer your second question, yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, whenever he was running at the defenders on the West Ham side, particularly Kutsuma, Cat got his tongue. So Luis Diaz just pretty much embarrassed them a hell of a lot. There's a wonderful run on 31 minutes that I just sort of, having seen so many of those moments recently for him in Porto colours, it was good to just see more of that, and I'm really anxious to see that he continues to sort of develop confidence. It's a bit ironic that in 7 games here he is with 1 goal, playing way better than Sadio Mane, who's got 5 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that just sort of comes with the footballers, like, I suppose. Diaz was easily the most dangerous of the 3, and I think that unfortunately does speak a lot to the form of the other 2 and the way that they're sort of, again, I think they're both fatigued. Notwithstanding that Sadio Mane it's been a weird season for him, because I don't know if we can necessarily say he's had a particularly good season, even though the numbers obviously betray a lot of what I'm saying. But Luis Diaz for me it's an inspired signing for Liverpool, given the circumstances.
And it's very, very interesting, Kay, isn't it? Because I'd like to get your thoughts on Declan Rice and obviously what he would have brought, to that midfield for West Ham. But just talk to me a little bit about the attack as well. I mean, I think, again, Marco hits the nail on the head, and it has been a really, really interesting for a player like Sadio Mane. Won AFCON. I thought he was a bit off in the Inter game, in my opinion, but looked really, really decent, and himself against, I'd say, the Leeds game didn't look the best in the Carabao Cup, I'm going to be honest with you, and today, looked a little off it again. And, Luis Diaz here, he comes in, he's absolutely impressed. He looks absolutely sensational when he's on the ball. He excites you. He does so many wonderful things. I mean, unlucky to, not get a goal as well. It was sort of cleared off the line in the first half. But your thoughts just in general in terms of our front 3, because for me, he definitely has brought like the spark this season, which was probably something that, we were excited about Jota last season when he brought the spark. Injecting some kind of new energy and new creativity, and even for the fans as well, seeing a different kind of player, because we've been so used to these front 3 men performing at the elite level that they have, that just seeing something different and some freshness has not only been a joy for us as Liverpool supporters, but obviously their fellow teammates as well. I mean, I think Robbo loves playing with him on the left.
Yeah. I think he does. No, I think it's been an interesting dynamic. I think it's a really good question, because I didn't think about it until the question. But when you're West Ham and you have that, Declan Rice is out, especially given the plaudits he's been receiving recently, I think that does bum you out a bit. We know that because, with Thiago getting that injury in the warm-up to the final, we're kind of feeling the same, right? But you'd expect in that situation where both teams kind of quote-unquote top midfielder or inform midfielder gets out, you would think the better squad kind of wins. And I think it's a really interesting point, because while none of Liverpool's midfielders had a really bad game in any way, shape or form, I mean, Henderson had some really nice touches. Keita was, really lively and controlling the whole game. Fabinho did some really, really good stuff. At the same time, I don't think you can really say that Liverpool's midfield dominated the game to the level that you'd expect. And we can talk about, West Ham maybe bypassing the midfield a couple times, but it didn't feel like there was a whole heap of control relative to what was going on. If Declan Rice is not there, you've got West Ham kind of, especially as the game goes, carving out chances during really awkward situations. All that together, I think really raises your sort of questions about the midfield, what they're doing, how they're organized, and how they go about their work. Because, like I said, it certainly didn't look bad. I couldn't point to any single person in the midfield and go, you've done a really bad job here.
Yeah,
Positioning was
agreed.
bad, etc., etc. Yet at the same time, I'm looking at you. Nobody had a bad game, and yet I still can't see where our midfield has really inserted themselves and taken the game by the scruff of that neck, right? And that can play then into the attacking lineup, because look, I definitely agree. It feels a bit like there's I definitely wouldn't call it a funk by any stretch of the imagination. The forwards are still scoring, anything like that kind of stuff. They're doing good things. It's just they don't, like Marco was alluding to, don't seem to have that freshness, that real perkiness, and that's all being supplied by Luis Diaz at the moment. It's electric when he gets his foot on the ball. And that run that Marco's talking about, that 31-minute run, it's been a while since we've seen somebody other than Mo Salah do that kind of thing. And it's coming from a different side now entirely. It's going to be so interesting how things balance off, because late in the game when the subs happen, I was a bit surprised as to how the team organized themselves. But if you're think about it from our forward line's perspective as well. You're Mo or Mane, even Mo this season, looking around going at times last season I kind of carried this attack. And this season things are a little bit better, but I might be the primary attacker here. I would, it's just while that's cool, I would love a little bit more support, in terms of where these things are going. For a long time, Bobby was there, not exactly a striker, not exactly the one for the goals. Yeah. Now you have Diaz, and how amazing. He's just come in, fitted into the team, where Jurgen Klopp has a thing, 6 months you can chill with us and get to know everybody. He's in, doesn't speak English properly, not a problem. He's come in and just absolutely shone bright. Then at the same time, going back to what I said before, through the whole game, there were times when our midfield did link up quite well with the attack, and then other times when our attack looked slightly by themselves, in terms of Diaz having to go by himself, Mo and Mane kind of running forward towards the ball. Mo on a lot of occasions, I know some of this is decision making, but Mo sometimes having to dribble his way out and not kind of getting there. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of this was down to the fact that I feel like obviously they analysed a threat in Mo Salah, so every time he got the ball there was 5 defenders around him. I felt like as the game progressed, and you're absolutely spot on about the midfield, they didn't put a foot wrong, but there was just, in moments there was something missing, and maybe, and I did notice that our attackers were even people like Diaz were dropping in quite deep, trying to help and get the ball, just in certain elements. It wasn't, it's not a slight on anyone, but I felt like a lot of that was largely down to what West Ham started doing, and basically they started defending quite deep. They kind of, snuffed out all the spaces. So there wasn't an awful lot of space for our front men to operate. There wasn't an awful lot of, space for our midfielders to be creative. And I was watching that, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this, because obviously you're way more smarter than me. But I just felt like it was one of those games where, and I'll say this every game, but in this game in particular, it's one of those games where we were missing maybe a peak Roberto Firmino, who pounces on the second ball and presses and forces them into mistakes, because they were very, very... I felt like Liverpool weren't really getting lucky on the second ball. But there was a lot of bad decision making, and also a player like Thiago would have been ideal in that midfield in terms of just sort of pinging the passes and stretching out play and forcing defenders to do stupid things.
Yeah, do you want to take this one, Marco?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking I'm not disputing that those elements around the role of a Bobby or a Thiago wouldn't have helped, but I also just felt that at times, especially down that right-hand side channel, the team just wasn't direct enough. They just weren't moving the ball quick enough into those spaces. Because there were many times when West Ham were trying to sort of do a counterattack to sort of put Liverpool in very difficult situations. And Liverpool didn't necessarily respond as quickly as they could have, and you have a couple of moments where there's only a couple, unfortunately, where sort of those exploits happen. And if you think about it, the moments wherein there's a counter attack where the front three is sort of running at West Ham, those situations are few and further between than you'd like. But in a situation where the front three is in full form, and obviously here we're focusing on Mane and Salah specifically, you kind of know it's more of a case of what kind of goal they'll score rather than if they're going to score. So there were more than enough counterattacks for Liverpool to do that. Also, have sort of a good look at the efficacy of the left-hand channel versus the right. Right-hand channel today, like you rightly say, a lot of the attacks stop with Mo. I don't think a Thiago or Firmino necessarily fixes that, just because in the end, the focal point being Mo, and Mo just not being fully sort of himself, means that a Thiago Firmino is going to be forced to make a different decision, probably to the other side anyway. Whereas, and then on the left-hand side, I felt that the only part of the left-hand channel that didn't work out so well, unfortunately, was Andy Robertson. Had a very good game defensively, did not have as good a game on the attack. So you didn't necessarily get the kind of incision that you'd like. And I just felt that there were a lot of moments where whatever Luis Diaz was doing just wasn't. I mean, I'm probably the biggest one for me is Mo. I think Mo at a stage in this game was just deciding he needs to score. He needs to put something in the net because he just needs to sort of get that stamp back. And the best chance that he actually could have set up Luis Diaz for a very simple goal, instead of backheeling it after Diaz has sort of switched over to the right-hand side, he could just as easily backheel. He doesn't. He holds it. He tries to shoot, and it's a very weak shot. That's somewhere in the second half. I can't remember the minute, but that for me is very, and no amount of Thiago or Firmino or any other player in good form, unfortunately, can fix that.
What about you, Kay? I mean, your thoughts on just what we've been chatting about there, or we can move on to something else.
To be honest, I thought most of after about half an hour, the game really seemed to be calling out for Jota, in his position and just his directness. I'm just looking down. We created enough quote unquote chances. I know they weren't all big chances, but we were so wasteful in terms of what we created. I think David Moyes has a bit of an issue there, where you want to be top four, you can't keep it and be defensive. You have to be a little bit expansive at least. And I think he's done that pretty well, actually. I think, Jared Bowen and the emergence of what he's done, and Cal Antonio is just an amazing footballer, really. He's done it pretty well. But I just felt the whole game, it was just, especially going to the second half, you're like, what would happen if we got Jota on now? And I think the issue for me was, who do we get Jota on for? But it really felt awfully a lot like we really just need to get him on. I thought we created enough chances. I understand what you're saying, though. On the other side, West Ham did create some chances as well, so it would be nice to have more control of the game. But I felt like if Jota was on the field for a good portion of that game, we would have at least had a second, or just been a bit more comfortable even in the first half.
No, absolutely. And guys, with regards to that first half, I mean, a player that kind of really impressed me, we spoke about Luis Diaz there being like the best from the forwards. I think, there was a few players that kind of impressed me, and I think obviously Diaz was one of them, and we'll talk about the other two that sort of impressed me, and I want to get your thoughts. I thought Marco, I'll come to you, Trent Alexander-Arnold. I thought for me was pretty decent today in an attacking sense, even clearing the ball off the line. I felt like he was you spoke about not being impressed or impressed with Robertson in an attacking sense, but was happy with his defensive work. What did you make of Trent today? Because I thought Trent was very, very good.
Yeah, Trent shaded man of the match for me. Yes. That's pretty much where I thought Trent in many respects was easily the best source of most of Liverpool's dangerous work, which is a storyline we're very used to. And on the whole, wasn't too bad in sort of dealing with a lot of defensive tasks that he was asked about. The clearance off the line is really important, significant, because Allison was surprisingly erratic.
Very, very. It was like a kitten chasing a ball of string or something, and like it
Yeah.
freaked me out. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. There's
Nobody
a
say kid. No cats. No cats are allowed yet.
Sorry,
No,
sorry.
you too really let the cat out the bag now. So, but in any case, I promise no more cat jokes. But also you have a look at some sort of the other compensatory measures. I think both fullbacks were quite good at it. There's the moment that Virgil van Dijk also makes a rare mistake and Robertson bails him out. But yeah, I mean, Trent was definitely a big part of the best attacking moments. Obviously creates the goal. I think Fabianski has to ask a lot of questions for himself, but Trent was great.
Credit to Sadio Mane as well there for just
Yeah.
beating the trap.
Yeah, beat the trap with feet, shins, arms, legs, sleeves. What else can be offside now? I don't know. But he managed to stay onside in full and sort of get to the ball. Spare thought as well for the important pass that Keita sort of sets up to get Trent in that position as well. So it's but Trent was good and definitely one of the spark points for the team today.
Kay, I'll come to you. I mean, your thoughts on Trent's performance today, because I feel like people really, really massively underrate him. Certainly on his defensive side of work as well. Do you know what I mean? Like people just think, oh no, he's just an assist merchant, doesn't really do anything else. And I'm like, well, if he wasn't overly great at defending, Jurgen Klopp would not play him as a right back. Does that make sense? And today he did put in a bit of a defensive shift again today.
I think it's incredible how these myths just perpetuate with people talking about how he can't defend and things like that. It was very interesting when Pep said over the weekend, or not over the weekend, during the week, that these stats and how these people, sometimes you need the eye test. I find it very interesting that statistics people always say you cannot just use statistics to describe a game, and we're looking for the best statistics, whereas people use the eye test purely go on and say that you can only use the eye test to do these kinds of things. I think things like statistics help in when you have these issues, with those myths that perpetuate themselves consistently. Keita is a defensive liability. Thiago can't fit in the system. Trent can't defend, etc., etc. It all helps us to see what's actually going on and allows us to question ourselves. Okay, if Trent can't defend, why does he get this many blocks? Why are the defensive statistics so good? Is it that our midfield is bailing him out all the time? If that was the case, we'd have holes in the midfield consistently and we'd get goals scored that way, etc., etc., etc. Today was just one of those games, I think, where Trent, he did really well defensively, offensively. I think we're just so used to it now. We don't really realize what's happening anymore. It's just this kid is doing this stuff, ridiculous things all the time. I thought even the volley that he got on target, that was was kind of soft, but it kind of showed his technique. He got it wrong and it ended up being soft, but it was going to the top corner. If he did get his foot behind it, that was unstoppable.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal. He's absolutely phenomenal. And I know people are calling him to move to midfield. I don't like that. If Klopp wants to do it, I think let's see what happens. But until then, he's enjoying himself. Let him develop his game there. He's absolutely bossing the game from that right back position. And you saw today, he did that across the a lot of the game. He barely put a step wrong. And it's I know a lot of people are blaming him, quote unquote, for the offside. That wasn't when he cleared off the line, but he did end up clearing off the line. And the important part of making a mistake is how you come back and rescue it. So hopefully more people can take note. Hopefully more people can really look at his defensive performance and more independently and unbiasedly look at it. I'm not trying to say he's the best defensive right back in the world. He's certainly not the worst. He's pretty damn good at it, actually.
Absolutely. And Kay, I'm going to stick with you. And another player that kind of impressed me as well is, a player that kind of makes fleeting starts, and it's great to see him play. And I'm going to talk about Ibrahimo Kanate. I thought, Antonio, you see that name, you're a bit mortified because you know what he's about, you know his strength, you know what West Ham are as a threat. They are scary on the counter, and they will scare you on set pieces because they have a lot of height in that team. So, bringing on a player like Kanate, I thought he handled the whole situation absolutely fine, in my opinion. He did not look flustered at all for most parts of the game.
My favorite moment was when I think it was Antonio just knocked it past him and decided to he had a good couple yards start to sprint down the line, and he looked like he was just going to absolutely overtake Ibu and like get to the ball first. And Ibu just gets into gear, gets there first. And I know he did concede the throw in afterwards, but I genuinely think that was the first time in the game that that Antonio kind of looked at it and went like, oof, I can't just do what I want. I have to be respectful to this guy. And it's such an important thing because exactly what you're saying, Nins. This is one of those Premier League tests. Antonio is a really bloody good player. West Ham is a difficult team to play against. And Ibu coming out and putting on that performance, not even barely putting a foot wrong, in a lot of occasions, just absolutely stamping his foot on the game and saying like, you will not come through here. I'm not going to let you do this. Even out wide, when he was covering for the fullbacks and stuff like that, I thought he just did really, really well. It's lovely to see that we have a bunch of centre back pairings and they can kind of all work. But Ibu's really coming to the team, and besides being a wonderful character, he's taken on instruction really well and is starting to express himself now. I remember his first games. He didn't really want to send long balls through. He hit one, didn't really go anywhere, and now him and Van Dijk are both hitting those balls. They're both doing what they can to progress the play while still dominating in the back. To dominate aerially, dominate on the ground against Mikel Antonio is not easy. And he did it, pretty well. Like, I'm not saying he didn't break a sweat, but it was pretty close for that kind of thing. Excellent, excellent game. He was my man of the match today, to be honest.
Pod has just completely wrecked all the spoilers here, and I know exactly where everyone's going to go. I mean, Marco, I'm going to come to you. I mean, what did you make up of the duel of Antonio and Kanate? Because for me, I thought he handled him really well. I am absolutely traumatized from flashes of what happened earlier on in the season. I just felt like he, for most parts of the game, handled him really, really well.
Yeah, he did. And I think to some extent he might have even sort of been a little bit surprised by that, because there's elements of his body language that gave me the impression, at least, that he was sort of really sort of paying a lot of attention to how difficult this could be. But I think the nice difference between Kanate and other defenders we've had in the past play for the club is that he really was sort of very acutely aware of the fact that this is not a battle that he should have allowed himself to be intimidated by. So I embrace the fact that he took it on, he faced it, he won, and it's important because you need someone like Kanate to continue getting confidence that he can handle the Lukakus and the Antonios, because at some point if Liverpool continue on this march to whatever number of trophies they intend on winning, you're going to bump into even more difficult players. I don't want to jinx it, so don't all you tweet me in hate if this happens. But if the next opponent is someone like PSG, he's going to have to figure out, okay, how do I handle Kylian Mbappe? Because the step up from Antonio to Mbappe could be obviously extreme. This is good practice. Now the reality is, if you're going to win the Champions League, you're going to have to take on people like that. You're going to have to make sure you can get the better of them. So this is just another notch in the ladder, and it was good preparation for whatever you may face.
I mean, for me, I just love the fact that Kanate quietly got on with it and kept Valencia quiet. I think there's nothing worse than seeing a scary kind of battle where your defender's getting all kind of, taken into horrible places and is getting flustered, which has happened to us in the past with certain defenders, and I won't mention any names, where it's just completely highlighted where one of our defenders has been struggling, and, the attacker has got the mark on our defender. So for me, I love the fact that Kanate was just quietly, professionally getting on with it. Marco, I'm going to come to you because, second half, kind of a bit different. I felt like, you spoke about Jurgen Klopp and his subs, and Kay there was speaking about, he felt like, there was a sub to be made earlier on in the game. He felt like something was off with the attack. So I'm going to get your thoughts of, because in the previous pods, we've been praising Jurgen Klopp for making the subs at the right time. So I want to get your thoughts of when, Jurgen Klopp makes his first sub, because he does wait a while, and it is, I think it was am I right in thinking it was like the 79th?
Yeah, it's like 79, 80 minutes. It's a long time.
Mo Salah just had a chance, and it wasn't a great one. And then, 78 minutes, and then he comes off for Jota. Yeah.
Yeah, it did feel late, didn't it? I mean, the weirdest thing by that point, you're wondering from a fatigue perspective, because by that point, West Ham have had quite a few chances or half chances, even though weirdly enough they didn't have the same quality of chances in the second half like they did the first. But everyone's starting to get anxious and edgy in the stadium. You can hear it. So fundamentally, it certainly felt like it was the right moment to start looking at the bench. I definitely would have brought Jota on earlier. I think the sub four.
He does 60 minutes, doesn't he? Like that's like 60 minutes. He usually makes his first change. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it's I don't know. Maybe Klopp just sort of felt that the team could extend, given that a bit further, given that the next match against Inter is obviously still at home. So it's not that they need to leave the city for traveling or anything like that. But
yeah.
But fundamentally, it's still a bit surprising, because I would have thought that, with the fixture congestion being what it is, you would want to be able to sort of keep the rotation going. Salah for me was the obvious one to come off, not because Mane was playing better, but just because I think Salah's due a little bit of a break. Yeah. I thought it was interesting that Naby Keita was sort of preserved for as long as he did. So even though I probably would have expected him to come off also quite early, I actually in reverse psychology, it was quite nice to see Naby last that long, because we
had the same conversation. We did. We were like, it's so good to see him pretty much get like 90 minutes.
Pretty much, it's a hardiness we've not been used to from him, and I think there's a lot to like about how effective that left-hand channel was. Sincerely hoping that against Inter there's an early goal, whoever plays, there's some decent rotation, because I think the 3 away matches in a row, they're not going to be easy. I'm very worried about the one in the middle, at the Emirates, but definitely. It was a bit surprising to see Jurgen take that long. Make no mistake.
I mean, Kay, I'm going to come to you. So Salah's off on 78 minutes. Then you have Naby come off around about 89 minutes. And I think it's like in injury time where you saw Diaz come off for Jones. I mean, you had an issue with where you were sort of looking at the game and you're thinking it was screaming for a sub. So I want to get your thoughts on, these are even relatively late for Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, they are, and you guys are right. He has been pretty good with his subs recently. I don't know if he maybe saw the game state and was worried about an imbalance in the midfield or up front might tilt things too much in West Ham's favor, or like Marco was saying, fatigue factors and loads on plays and that kind of thing. It just really felt obvious that Jota's directness. I thought if he just played in his normal position, you would have scored. It just felt like that to me. The thing that I thought was also really weird was when Jota came on, it was a direct sub for Mo Salah, and I've not seen Jota play there for us, not that I can remember, and I didn't think he was very effective from there at all. Play him in the middle or from the left. I know Lewis is there from the left. Okay, then play him in the middle. I'd even move Sadio over to the right because Sadio has played there a couple times. I couldn't, really understand what that was for. So it was just all a bit weird, and it just added to the intensity of the game where you're really not sure what's going to happen and how's it going to go. I know Lee Dixon was also saying doesn't understand why in 5 minutes of injury time a team winning 1-0 would make a substitute. I mean, bro, It's like you were never professional. I just don't understand, these pundits sometimes. But yeah, I mean, in terms of that, it was just all a bit flummoxing for me. I thought it was right sub, done the wrong way, done a bit too late, etc., etc. Well, look, we got away with it, and so if you're going to make the mistakes, make a couple of them at the same time, and then you can get away with it. And we hopefully don't have to put in that situation again in the near future, so at least. So, yeah, from that perspective, it was fine. It was just very eyebrow raising.
Okay, I'm going to stick with you because obviously we'll quickly speak about the second half. But for me, the second half, I felt like, maybe there was a bit of a drop in quality. I felt like the decision making wasn't great. And I think Marco touched on this as well. Like, too many passes, underpassing, not winning the second ball. But for me, there was just a lack of like urgency and a lack, the decision making wasn't great. And I felt like that was maybe the factor that frustrated me. Not too scared about West Ham. I think they only genuinely frightened me with that Lanzini chance where he controlled it so great and then decided to completely just, I don't even know, bottle it. But as a whole, like, I wasn't frightened by them. I was just getting more frustrated not frustrated in a negative way, but just like, should have passed it there. Or, like it was that kind of frustration.
The whole second half, our front line just had a collective brain fart, kind of. I think with the exception of Diaz. Diaz kind of kept on, chugging along and doing what he could. But everybody else had got into that position, even on the rare occasions when kind of even the midfield had a shot here and there and stuff like that. It always felt like by the time the shot came, that was the wrong decision. You should have passed it, or you're being too selfish, or something didn't stick, or it happened the entire second half. It was absolutely mad. I don't know what was said in the dressing room at halftime, and I doubt it was anything, said that affected us. But we just came out, and Mo Salah specifically just had, I mean, around 60 minutes, between 60 and 70 minutes, he had these spate of chances that he just kept on mucking about with and not getting into the greatest positions to score, not passing when he should have passed. And it felt like a kind of almost like a red mist descended upon Anfield, but in the wrong way. It was just a layer of either selfishness or bad decision making, total brain farts across the ground. And, it's so frustrating to just think that if you just passed it, we would, would have been in a much better position to score. But for some reason, everybody was just doing this stuff. It was so confusing as to what the actual game plan was, because we've been actually really good this entire season. I mean, more than that. It's for a while now. Our attack has been really good at decision making. So I'm not sure what happened, but the whole time was just endlessly frustrating. The first thing my dad sent me is a message after the game saying that whole second half was just really, really bad decisions. And you can't disagree with that. It was just awful.
I think your dad's absolutely spot on there. I mean, Marco, what did you make of just our performance levels in the second half?
The sense of urgency comment is definitely relevant, but I also think that, to be honest, I wouldn't necessarily support the idea that the team wasn't trying to score. It was more sort of those elements of decision making that undermine the team. And if you think you're just not seeing the half chances because they didn't turn into something meaningful. So again, it's the back heel that should have happened between Salah and Diaz, or it's the cross from Robertson after some wonderful build up along the left hand channel somewhere in the second half that I can't recall. There's a couple of moments like that, and effectively had that final ball, had that extra touch gone the right way, you're staring at a really good quality of chance, much like what Lanzini had. The only difference being obviously likely that he skied it, and Liverpool, even the one that Salah got just before he got subbed, is not necessarily a terrible chance. He's just controlled it way sort of lower to a standard than he usually does, because Salah being Salah, he's either trying to first time it, or he gets it, stops it, gathers it, pokes it with his right foot. It's those kinds of margins that the team didn't seem to have in the second half today.
No, I think that's fair. I think, if we'd like done that random thing where we're absolutely dreadful and we score 3 goals, I think people kind of, forget, like you said, those half chances. Guys, we have come to the end of this show. I mean, Kay, Marco, is there anything that you feel that needs highlighting from the game that we've not done so? I mean, this is your chance to speak now, or you can never speak about this game ever again. This is the closure pod. I never want to hear from it again. That's it. Okay, anything that you feel like you want to highlight or address on this pod about the game?
I think there were a couple of like really bright sparks we can hook on to. Obviously, Luis Diaz's continued emergence into the team is going really well. I love the fact that, as you guys were saying, Keita came through, and then our midfield, nobody I thought had a terrible game. It was all really nice. Henderson had some really good touches. Keita lasted. Fabinho is bloody lovely. I just love him so much. And obviously, we were speaking at the back about Ibu, and even though he isn't getting consistent time, he's doing so well when he comes on, and totally agree. It's a feather in his cap. And the other thing is there were a number of brain farts in this game, and it's great that we could concentrate them all in one game, hopefully, and it won't happen for the games coming up.
Yeah, and they weren't costly, because that's
Yeah.
the worst. Yeah.
That's
we'll
it.
take that. We'll take that. Yep, I like them takeaways from the game. What about you, Marco?
I just have one bizarre question to ask. What person has enough money to waste that they decide? I mean, I appreciate the sentiment. It's wonderful, but
I was also thinking that.
but I just need to understand you. There's a lot of things I would put on a banner on an airplane. A lot. I don't know if cat lives matter. I mean, that happened a month ago. I mean, Kurt's probably forgotten about it as well. I'm trying to understand who decides that's yeah. It's a bit bizarre to me. I can there's a lot of other things I would put in an airplane that I've got nothing against cats or anything, but yeah, I'm just that's bizarre. Go the Reds. The quad is on.
I mean, I'm a big cat lover. I've not really said anything much about Kurt Zuma, but he's an absolute dickhead. I'm just going to put that out there. Got no time for him, disgusting human being. But anyway, moving on. Let's move on to man of the match. Guys, who's your man of the match and why? I know you spoilt it. I know exactly where you're going to go, but just one more time for the cheap seats in the back. Marco, who's your man of the match?
Trent Alexander-Arnold, and an assist in the goal line clearance, and just generally all-round great play.
I was with you on that one. And Kay, I'm going to come to you one more time.
It's Ibu for me. Imperious performance. I like that from a player who hasn't been in the team to handle somebody like Mikel Antonio, who I rate quite highly outside of the top 4 strikers. It was a real joy to see, and long may it continue, making just progress and progress from there.
You know what I really love about these man of the match shouts? They're not the usual ones that we tend to go for. So for me, that is just incredible. Adam Proticioni there, I think is going for Trent as well, guys. Right, we have come to the end of the podcast. Thank you to everyone that joined us live. Thank you for everyone listening. Before I go, I'm just going to do a quick follow-up on rating the worst. Lisa Marie goes, I can't stand Harry Kane, but on the 19th of February, I was cheering him on. Steve Pizza here, worst to the least worst. He's gone with getting sucked into Everton's failure and VAR being shite. His second was will be supporting Man United tomorrow. And third is screaming in delight at Harry Kane. So that's his order. And Steve Eller, who actually posed the question, he's gone with number one, ignoring the Ev game as long as I can to tune in and that shit show for about 15 minutes. Yes, it's the most Everton thing. Hoping for Manpoo United tomorrow. So for Man United. And celebrating Harry Kane's late goal versus City. So there you have it, guys. We've got some responses to that. And a shout out to all 3 awesome people.
Nice.
That contributed there. But if you're listening as well, you can rate them. We'd love to hear from you. Guys, where can people find both of you on social media? Marco, I'll come to you first. And is there anything you'd like to plug?
Nothing to plug right now, but people can find me on Twitter at FootyML.
Give him a follow. He's awesome. You heard it here. Not for the first time though.
Thank you.
Kay, what about you? Where can people find you on social media? And is there anything you'd like to plug?
Well, if you subscribe to Anfield Index or you just rock up, I mean, just come to the Discord. We're all here. We're all just waiting for you. But if you want to interact with me on Twitter, it's at the Kiln. That's V_KYLN. Yeah, you can find me there.
Again, give him a follow. He's awesome. And it's not the first time you've heard it here first. So yeah, guys, give both of these a follow. Join the Anfield Index community and join Discord. It's incredible. We have incredible people on there. Great community, great interaction, great conversation, great debate. So yep, check that out. There's loads of awesome content on AI now. So do check that out. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Really, really enjoyed that. Hopefully I will be back with a Euro incision and hopefully I'll be talking about another win. But guys, thank you so much for listening. It's been an absolute pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Till next time, take care and up the Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.